This is my 2012 Nissan GT-R. Today, we're doing a video on it. Welcome to the Go channel. Hi. Hey, it's green, let's go! So, this is the GT-R. This is my 2012 Nissan GT-R. I had this car for about 4 years, almost 5 years at this point. I've had this car since 2018. And the thing is, I mean, this car is a really nice car and everything. And one big problem is that it's now along with the market. I mean, we have a 500 horsepower C8 Corvette now, and you can buy that for less than what you can buy this car for. This is like a six-figure car, and back in the day, it used to be, I mean, like 911 turbos and such, but now it's not really. It's kind of faded in performance. It's still the same car, and they've been making this car since, I mean, in Japan they started in 2007. In the U.S. market, they started selling this in 2008. But small improvements in with the 2012 model year, which this is what this car is. It's an updated transmission, an updated front face. It's a bit of a facelift on the car and such, and they put daytime running lights on it. But if we're looking at how it is in performance, this car is about 550 crank horsepower, and it feels like it's lacking. 4,000 pounds. This is how much the car weighs, and you look at a Corvette. That Corvette weighs less than 4,000 pounds and has 500 crank horsepower. The 0 to 60 on this car was one of the most impressive marketing feats on this car in performance. 2.9 seconds, but now the Corvette can do the same. 911 turbos are blowing this car out the water. If you were still desiring this car, it would make sense. I mean, you still get a 500 horsepower car. It still feels very nice to drive. And one thing is it feels very mechanical. This transmission. I mean, as we can tell from here, how it feels. It still doesn't feel slow, and it doesn't shift as smooth as, say, your 9-speed, 8-speed transmissions. But it feels somewhat analog, even though this car is advertised as something very digital. A few things that suck on this car: the Bluetooth doesn't like your phone at all. It won't like anyone's phone. Unless you have an aux. Now the 2012 model year, they included Bluetooth, but for the 2011 and below, you just had to get an aux or USB cable to connect to your phone, and that's no problem with that because you won't have any connection issues. But on here, it likes to jitter all the time. For a 4,000 pound car, this car still corners very well. I mean, it's very heavy, of course. I mean, every GT-R in the past has always been very heavy, and people consider them as boats. This car was advertised for going in the Nürburgring for being such a very fast GT-R. One thing is, yes, it's not your inline six. It doesn't sound like inline six. It sounds like VQ at most, with 2 turbos strapped to it, in which that's what it is. But it isn't just like how the Q50's VR motor is. It's the VR38 in the GT-Rs, which is very special. They're coated with a certain material that keeps it from having overheating issues and keeping up with the high pressure that the motor goes through when boost kicks in.
Better not notice it fluttered as much as it does.
Really?
It flutters a lot. Whenever you get on gas a little bit, it has a flutter.
Yeah, it's just so quiet. Like when you put a blow-off valve in this thing, it just sounds just so much better. But it costs too much money, and well, this car, it's not. I mean, this car is nice and everything, but it's really nice being having it stock because you don't have to deal with any problems. These Nissan GT-Rs, they're also, I mean, they've always been a very tunable car. I'm sure you can look up anywhere on YouTube and you'll see 1,000 horsepower GT-Rs. I think even the most highest power GT-R they have right now is a 3,000 horsepower GT-R. And the thing is, I mean, these cars were always been very tunable, very capable. You put a Cobb tuner on this thing and you can make 600 horsepower. Just the tuner alone, not even putting a downpipe or anything to the exhaust. And by the way, talking about the exhaust, it's a very quiet car. I can see why people like to daily these things when they have the money. And yes, sure, this is my car, but I don't want to pay for the maintenance all the time. And maintenance isn't that bad either, but it is a bit more expensive than your average car. And I bring this car to Nissan, Buckeye Nissan, where my friend works, and he does the oil changes for me, where I just pay about $120 for an oil change, which that's actually affordable if you look at how the C8 Corvette is for its oil changes, which that car is a dry sump system. Even if I didn't want to do the oil changes at Nissan, I can do them here. I can do it myself. For under $100, because all you gotta do is pay for the filter and then pay for the oil, and that doesn't really cost that much. Now, another thing too is that yes, there's only 4 people in the world that build these motors, but and they all get plaques on the motors. At least you get them after 2013. For me, I don't have the plaque. I don't know who made my. Out of the 4 guys, I don't know who built my motor, but it's a multiple choice question. I can just answer A, B, C, or D, and I'm pretty sure it's one of them. You get 25% of the chance to figure out who it is. And now, one of the reasons why the GT-R has always been a very good cornering car, even though it's so heavy, the transmission is actually mounted in the back axle, where you have more of a balanced weight distribution. It's roughly 50-50. 50 in the front, 50 in the rear. And it's one of the reasons why the car can corner so well. The tires, these tires are Michelin Pilot Cup Sports. Very good tire. 285 in the back and 255 in the front. They're 20-inch wheels. People don't expect GT-Rs to have. I mean, people have never thought about how big a GT-R wheel is, but they're 20-inch wheels. And if you want to pay for one of the tires, you're paying for about, in the rear, I believe about $350 for each rear tire, and about $300 for each front tire. You have to change them out whenever they're worn, but they're about 3 years up to about 30 to 50,000 miles. Now, one thing about the GT-Rs, one of the biggest weak points are the transmissions. Sometimes the transmission doesn't like launch control, even though that's what the car is advertised for. Was that the launch control works really well. No wonder you get that 2.9 second 0 to 60. But back in about 2009, 2010, a lot of people had controversy about how the transmission is, and they just kept launching them over and over again. Never gave the transmission a break, and they broke them. They broke the transmission, and it's not a cheap transmission. And since it's rear mounted, it's not easy. It's not an easy transmission to even replace it either. You're paying about $15,000 for a transmission out of these things. And the thing is, it sucks that the transmission is very weak, but the motor, on the other hand, these motors are not very weak at all. They're a very strong motor. People have gotten the stock block up to 1,000 horsepower, and you can see those everywhere. All you gotta do is just put 2 bigger size turbos, bigger injectors, roughly about 1,300 cc, and you'll definitely see the 1,000 horsepower mark. But if you want to talk about just stock motor, stock turbos, you're getting about roughly 800 at its most, and that's really pushing it for the stock bottom end too, because last thing you want to do is break the internals on these motors, and they're already forged rods, forged crank.
Hopefully the camera stays.
Dude, we were spinning. We were spinning like all forward, which is nuts. I haven't launched this car in like 3 years. Oh my god, that's so cool. It's always been so scary to launch this car because of like the transmission, how it is.
Yeah.
Because oh man, people don't know that you have to get it warm to a certain temperature, and that's why like the screen has like all this stuff here. I mean, even with that launcher, that was loud.
Gotta show off how cool it is, dude.
Dude, you gotta show off the tips, man. The tips were extended. They were more. I saw the tips sat out more than the rear bumper. But no, the screen and stuff. It's really nice to see all the temperatures and stuff, because you can really nice. You have the screen, so you can like regulate all the temperatures of oil and coolant and such. Because I mean, you can when you see that, you can see when you can launch and when you're allowed to use it. Because if it's like too hot, well, you start launching it, you're gonna break a gear. You're gonna break a few gears. I've seen people like break like a few gears in the transmission, and it's not cheap. It's not cheap at all. Like I've seen like first, second, third they broke it, and then like they just started driving on fourth, fifth, and sixth. It's nuts. Dude, I haven't had that feeling in such a long time. Like me launching the car, I feel like I'm 16 again. Oh my god.
I thought it was gonna be a nice 215. It was a vert, and it looked like shit. Drifting tomorrow?
Oh, drifting east tomorrow? Yeah, that sucks. It's gonna rain tomorrow. Too bad I'm not going. I gotta deal with some insurance.
If you're going to put up a tent, make sure you bring something to tie it down. Weather says 20 to 30 mile per hour winds.
What? Nuts. Yeah, I'm not going.
No. They'll probably have it on Saturdays.
Okay.
It's only 2 days, isn't it?
I need to talk about one more thing before I go.
Do it.
What is it? You know, I've been complaining about how this car isn't good enough in today's market, but I really do like this car and I really do cherish it. For the past, 4+ years, I've had this car. I really have enjoyed this car, and I've kept it stock all the time. The reason why I kept this stock, because I don't have the money to afford modifications, and I don't have the money to afford breaking it either. But if you ever wanted to buy a GT-R, I say go for it. But do yourself a favor and buy a low mileage car. When I first got this car, I only had 8,000 miles, and it's a 2012, and I bought it in 2018. It's already 6 years old, and I only had 8,000 miles in it. Even now, I'm like 5 miles away from 27,000 miles. This car is just it's been so good to me. I've taken this car to Maryland, I've taken this car to South Carolina, and it's been one of the most perfect road trip cars ever. Super dependable, and you don't have to think about breaking down. Obviously, the one thing you have to worry about is getting a flat tire, because not a lot of tire shops have the tire for this car, and you have to special order them. Well, that's my take on the Nissan GT-R. What do you think about the Nissan GT-R? Do you want to buy one? I know a lot of people do. Do you think it's worth it to buy one? And if not, throw a comment down in the comment section and tell me why it isn't worth it to you. But either way, this car is so fun. It's a really fun car, and I really do appreciate that I have this car, especially at a young age, and I had 4 years to own it. But I'll see you guys later.